25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee not too long ago, and Jerry Seinfeld is, that's his new show. I don't know how many of you watched this thing on Netflix. But anyway, so his guest was Tracy Morgan, the comedian who was in the car accident on the Jersey Turnpike, nearly died. I think somebody actually did die in that wreck. And I wondered, because I hadn't seen much of Tracy Morgan. I think maybe I saw him once on the Tonight Show after that, but I just wondered in that environment with the Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, the way Jerry Seinfeld has it set up, I wondered if the after effects, the residual effects of such a horrific accident would have changed him and made him a different person. He's still really funny. Our next guest had something similar. Cody Byrns has written a book called Scar Release, Breaking Free of Yesterday's Troubles. Cody also is an entertainer, by the way, I think, right? Did I see
yeah,
this
he
somewhere?
is. He's a comedian.
Is that right? He's an inspirational speaker. It says he nearly died 5 years ago in a horrific crash. He's an award-winning performer. He founded the Cody Byrns Foundation for Burn Survivors, spelled a different way than his name. He's a professional juggler. Oh, there's a comedian.
I love that part.
Did you see the astronauts doing the juggling, by the way, in the space station?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, that's not fair. It's weightless. Come on. Anyway, he's also a former children's pastor. And his book, by the way, doing really, really well on Amazon. Again, it's called Scar Release. Good morning, Cody Byrns. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good morning to y'all.
Yeah, they juggle in the space station. That's just not fair, is it? Come on.
Boy, if I was in space, I'd be out of a job.
You have to have some new trick, right? So where are you? Where are you calling from?
I am actually in Tampa.
Oh,
Not
okay.
too far.
Not too far. Okay. Well, you know, when I first heard about your book, I was thinking in terms of, physical trauma like you went through and emotional trauma as well. Did both happen to you simultaneously from this wreck that we were referencing earlier?
Absolutely, yeah. Both the physical and the emotional, hardcore.
Tell me about it. What happened?
Yeah, well, for the listeners that aren't aware of what happened, in 2013, I was a 23-year-old I'm still very young man. I was stopped at a red light on the highway, and those, red lights are annoying anyhow. But I was stopped at this red light on the highway, and I was rear-ended by a refrigerator box truck that failed to stop.
Oh my God! So on
impact, this is a very large truck, and on impact of the truck crashing into my vehicle. They went to an embankment, but my vehicle exploded into flames. And so when the first responders came coming to the scene, just by the looks of it, they called it fatality. They knew that no one could survive it. To create an image of this, I was in a Dodge Durango. It was completely crammed up like an accordion, and it's like a big fireball. And so if the listeners are interested, I do have some images on my website that can kind of better describe what really happened. Mm-hmm. And if you can understand more why the fire department called it the fatality.
Wow.
But somehow or another, and I give God credit on this one, they saw my hand move, and they changed their plans. And so at the time of the wreck, I lived in Indiana. And so I lived in the southern part of the state. And so they had life-flighted me. It took them a good hour to get me out of the vehicle. They life-flighted me to a hospital in Evansville, Indiana, and then redirected me to Indianapolis, Indiana, to the burn unit. And I was just in a full coma on full life support for 3 weeks. I had severe burn injuries, burnt down to bone and muscle, 40% of my body severely burned. I had broken vertebrae, torn ligaments, you name it.
Wow.
And so I don't actually remember the wreck. I just remember waking up 3 weeks later. And so the trauma of, coming to this new reality was very emotionally, scary, and it was just very traumatizing in so many ways. So yeah, just in short, that's a quick briefing.
Wow. Were you alone in the car?
Yes, thank God I was. Because my seat was the only seat that was there, and it was barely there. The Dodge Durango is a bigger vehicle, and I tell you, it sure did not look like it.
Wow. So did you have, forgive me if this is kind of out of line, but did you have one of those near-death experiences people talk about?
Well, I I believe I did, but like I said, I don't remember it. And so when the fire department came to the scene, and when they discovered my hand was moving, they said I was talking to them. However, I don't know any of that. I have no remembrance of that.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
It's amazing how the body works. So, I don't know if it was an out-of-body experience. I don't know what took place. I just know that I nearly died.
So let's talk about what the book focuses on, and just so I can try to relate, and probably a lot of people have this. When I've been in wrecks, nothing like what you described, and I hope I never do, or anybody I know does. I hope you never do. I had a hard time for about a year, just even getting in a car, let alone driving one. And actually, Robin was my driver for about a year, and I was kind of skittish, I guess. I don't know if that sounds right. And I often wonder, how do these guys do NASCAR? I mean, they flip their cars and they get out and they drive again. They don't seem to be bothered by it. But I mean, did you have that? Did you have that fear of getting in a car again?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it was, I went through went through a few years of rehabilitation. And I remember I was in Indianapolis at this time, and getting behind the wheel was very intimidating, because I knew that the last time I sat behind this wheel was when my life drastically changed. Yeah. And so it was very fearful. And, but I had to understand that in order for me to move on in life, it's kind of a requirement. If you want to get from point A to point B. Right. But it was very scary.
So the title implies, the title is Scar Release. The title implies that there was a release from something. What was binding you physically, emotionally? What was binding you that you were released from?
Excuse me. Yeah, I like to think of it as emotional scarring. I really reference the scars a lot in this book. There is the two types of scars. There's the physical, which I encountered being a Byrns survivor. 40% of my body is scarred over, and dealing with contracture scars. But there's also that emotional scarring, and that is often what I believe is the most difficult to heal and to overcome. And so the book is very much taking my story, but it's also relating it to the reader. It's just, if they don't have physical scarring, more than likely everybody at some point in their life will encounter emotional scarring of some sort. And so the whole point is that we want to break free of that so we can live the life that we want to live, pursuing our goals and our dreams and overcoming. A lot of people are stuck in bitterness. They're stuck in defeat. They're stuck in fear. Right. So we really want to break free of that so we can be all that we were created to be.
But then you've got the people out there that seem to have full capacity of their physical bodies, of their mind. They have good jobs, they're making money, they live in good homes, but they're still complaining about things. I mean, in your talks across the country, how do you get them to realize that they're not as bad off as they tend to make themselves believe?
Oh, yeah. And I think sometimes presenting even my story and the reality of what happened. I was 23, life was going great, and there I was, life drastically changed. And so I think even as a young man, you grow up in many ways, and you realize that, life is a precious gift. And so any of those individuals that may be saying, oh, life is just, crazy. Well, you need to realize that you are so blessed to be alive. The very fact that you're breathing is such a gift. There's many people in the rehab, in the hospital, in the ICU at this very moment that are striving just to be alive. So, in that old saying, count your blessings. It goes a long way. Appreciate what you have. Appreciate the good things.
We've had a lot of interviews over the years of doing this, Robin and I, and we've had many authors who are women who were raped when they were younger, and they developed this fear of men or distrust of men, and everything sexual that should be a great thing in their lives was not a great thing anymore, because of that scar that was left from that rapist. And I'm not trying to ask you to comment on rape or anything, but it sounds like that kind of scar might be helped, or that kind of person might be able to be brought back to what could be considered a normal life, I suppose, with some of the things you talk about. Does that sound accurate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I like to think of it this way. We cannot change the past. We can never change what happened to us. Whether and my scars, they're on they're on my body for the rest of my life. I have physical scarring as well as the emotional. And just like those individuals that may be victims of rape or whatever emotional trauma they've encountered, they cannot change what happened to them, but they can change their today and try their very best to make the most of it. And so, it's traumatizing, and I don't know if you can ever completely erase those images that are engraved in your mind or the experiences. But you can try to find the lessons and find the positive and appreciate the today. And, I've discovered that sometimes, even in the midst of my own pain, helping others who are dealing with similar injuries and realizing that you're not alone, and that it goes a long way. It speaks volumes.
Was juggling one of your therapies? Did you juggle after your accident?
Yeah, I did, and it was very scary. Because whenever I was in the unit, the surgeons wanted to amputate a few of my fingers, and my family was there because my hands got severely burned, and so my family were good advocates for me. But I'm in a coma at this time. They said, "Do whatever you can to save his fingers. He juggles, for crying out loud." And you can imagine the surgeon's face. They're probably thinking, "What? Are you kidding me? He juggles?" And so they were able to save my fingers, but they don't have the mobility that they used to. So that was a big concern. I was like, here I was, doing this for a living, traveling the country as an entertainer, as a juggler. I kind of gained a reputation in my young life as, okay, Cody juggles, he's a funny guy, he entertains, this is what he's known for. And so I wondered, will I be able to do those things again? And I can do those things. I can juggle again, and I do find it good therapy. However, I cannot juggle as good as I used to, but I appreciate what I can do. And so that is a lesson in itself.
Yeah, if you went to the space station, it would all come back to you. Just so you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that'd be a lot of fun.
Robin asked a pretty interesting question. I wanted to ask a similar question about the comedy. Does that help in any way? Is there maybe not your own comedy, maybe other people's comedy? It does for me. I think sometimes, I can find myself bummed out, which is not exactly the same as what you're talking about. But I'll just turn on some silly show. I can watch Groucho Marx. And just I don't know, it's like old comedy, I guess. And just all of a sudden, okay, the world's not so bad. Look at that goofy guy,
Yeah, of course. I think comedy is such a precious gift to our world. I love to laugh. And my family, we're a bunch of crazy individuals, and it's hard not to laugh. And I found that and it's hard not to when you realize that my last name is Byrns. And you think about what really happened to me, and here I am. I've got burn injuries, and my last name is Cody Byrns. Are you kidding me? So you have to find the humor. It helps so much.
Yeah.
How many surgeries did you have to go through?
Oh, my goodness. I would say probably at least 16, 17 different surgeries as of now. And I'm basically, as recovered as one can be. As a burn survivor, you deal with multiple surgeries throughout your lifetime because the scar tissue can kind of contract and cause limitation to your joints. And so occasionally you'll have to go in and get some touch-ups, but it's nothing like I was enduring. So it's a lot better now.
How do you give hope to the people that are in your foundation for burn survivors that are brand new at this and they think their world is crashing down?
Yeah, I think just, every burn injury is different. And I think when you walk into a unit and you're dealing with a burn survivor, you don't know their history, their background. So I think the biggest thing you just show them that you love them, that you're there, that you care, and that you're not alone. And, I think letting them know that there's hope and that even though it's traumatizing at that moment or however long, because they could be in the unit for sometimes years, depending on the extent of the injury. And so just letting them know that they can get through this, that there is hope, and that there is a life worth living after burn.
Did you have a significant other when this happened to you? Because I know relationships within the family, between the parents and the siblings are great support, but sometimes if you do have a significant other, that person comes through for you, but then all of a sudden this will happen to you, and maybe you don't have a significant other at that point, and you wonder if you're ever going to have one.
Oh yeah, I think that's kind of the lane that I'm in, because I'm not married, I am single, and at the time of the history I was single, and it was you have those thoughts that cross your mind. Will I be able to find somebody to love me and appreciate me for who I am as a person? And those thoughts are normal. I mean, yeah, I certainly had those thoughts. Although there comes a point where you just kind of got to be confident in yourself and know who you are and know what you have to offer. But in a tragedy like this, I can definitely see where it can either make a family or break a family. My father, mother, I have two younger brothers, and they were all there for us. Although it was traumatizing, but in those moments we really pulled together and we was there for each other.
I went to your website. You're a pretty good-looking guy, and the burns spared your face. And I was looking at a video. It looks like you got some bad scars on your upper arms. But I mean, oh my gosh! Thank God you're able to still function like the way I saw you. I just watched you juggle on some TV show or something. So. Yeah, you've been blessed and healed. And I saw the picture of the wreck too. By the way, it's horrible. It's hard to believe you survived that.
Yeah. I think Oh, sorry. What was you going to say?
I nothing. I was just telling you that I think. I mean, I'm just impressed. I was looking at your site and I was realizing you're a good-looking guy and you were available for speaking engagements. So where were you speaking? Are you speaking to colleges?
Yeah, I tell you, I want to act like I didn't hear you because I appreciate you saying "good-looking guy." I'm really like you're building me up. Right?
You are good-looking. Look at him, Robin.
I think so.
He's a handsome guy.
Look at that. No, I speak all over the place, and I love doing it. I speak a lot in schools, churches, and I'm beginning to do more even corporate events. And every audience is different, and each message presented is tailored to that specific audience. But the big thing is providing motivation and hope to those individuals, companies, the schools, whatever it may be.
Tell me the church part of what you talk about, and maybe on public radio. I mean, not public. What is this? This is called commercial radio.
Yes.
On this kind of radio station, maybe you're holding back. Do you have a religious message in your speaking engagement or in the book?
I do, and in the book, I talk about my faith a lot. However, I don't. The book it lets them know that I'm not going to push my faith upon people because I don't believe that's right. But I will happily share my faith. My faith going through this, it was tested. I have to be honest. You wonder why. Why did God allow this to happen?
Yeah.
And I think having good mentors is a huge part in helping you get through things like this. And one of the mentors who I believe God brought to my life is a gentleman by the name of Dave Reber. He was in Vietnam, and he encountered a severe injury. His face is burned. He had fingers amputated. His life was drastically changed. And for years, he wondered the same question. Why did God allow this to happen? Until he was on television, and he had a lady tell him, she said, Dave, God didn't do this to you. That's a number one. People think that God is out to harm people, and that's not true. Where there's free will, things happen. But she said, God did not do this to you, but he allowed it to happen because he could trust you with the scars. And so at that very moment, his entire life was changed, and he has had an incredible career speaking not only to military personnel, but, in churches, schools. I mean, the guy is such a blessing. And so if you think about it from that perspective, you try to find the lessons. I believe that there is a heaven, and I believe there's a hell too, but I believe there's a heaven. That's where I want to aim for, is that eternity and with Jesus. And, someday we're all going to die. Life is short, death is certain, but eternity is long. And so as a Christian, I want to make the most of my today. And whether I be scarred, or whatever it might be, find the lessons that I've learned through these experiences and try to help as many people as I can and try to leave a positive impact, a good legacy in this world that we live in.
Was it very emotional for you writing the book and recounting what happened to you? Did you cry?
Well, the book took me about a good year to produce, and there was many moments where you kind of I don't know. There's some tearful moments, I would say, but I think a lot of it was just trying to get it all out. Trying to think of everything and also put it together in a story that is going. Because I didn't want to write it as like an autobiography, so it's very conversational. It's not a long read. It's not intimidating. But it gets I get very vulnerable, and I had to search myself and remember that this is how I really felt. I mean, it was not easy.
You might have said this, and I just didn't absorb it. Who was in the room with you when you came to? Was your family there? Any members of your family?
My family was there, and my father, mother, there were some nurses, and in the book I start chapter 1 off at coming to off of life support, and I heard my mom's voice. And I heard my mom's voice for years, but that there was concern in her voice, and I knew that if my mom was this concerned, something bad had just happened. And
wow.
Very, very difficult, but thank God they were there for me.
Yeah. Do you remember what you heard her say?
Yeah, she just explained, briefly what had kind of happened, and I think there was something that she kept repeating to me numerous times. Cody, do not lose sight of your vision. Don't lose sight of who you are and what you want to accomplish. And I think that was a powerful statement that she made. It stuck with me.
And that's where some people can't get themselves out of something, is that they just get into this deep depression and they feel like their life isn't worth living anymore, and you fought through all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I had some depression that overcame, and I think I would be bad if I tried to lie and get around that, because I did. I had those days where I felt really low. I felt bad. I felt like the world was moving on without me. But I had to just suck it up and realize that life is going to get better. I can't change what happened to me. I can't be stuck in yesterday's bitterness, because if I do, it's going to prevent me from the blessings of today. And so I think that's the message that I really want to help encourage as many people as I can that may be battling with depression, letting them know that you can't change it. We can't change what happened, but you can here today. Move on. There is still hope. There's still a life worth living.
Cody, do you need gigs? Do you need to find some colleges that might hire you to do an engagement, a speaking engagement, or a comedy gig?
I would love that. I'm always up for that.
All right. Do you know about the National Association of Campus Activities?
Seems like I may have heard of it. I'm not certain, but I. Well,
this is my gift to you. If you get in touch with them, find out about them, you will find yourself in front of student activities directors whose job it is to find people just like you to bring to the schools to talk to those students. And comedy is always in demand. So. Just a suggestion. I don't know how it'll work out for you, but I think are they in North Carolina or something?
Yeah, I think so.
But
yeah.
Just look them up. National Association of Campus Activities. Cody, thank you for being on the air with us today. I found the book on Amazon, and your website is your name, right? CodyByrns.com. BYRNS. Those looking up Cody's name. Any other information you want to give us so that we can get the book?
Yeah, I mean, if they like to, they can go to my website and they can download the first chapter for free if they'd like, to kind of get a feel for it.
All right.
But if nothing else, it is available on Amazon.
All right. Cody, thank you. I'd like to offer you, if you have any questions about the organization I just told you about, I'm here. You can call me. I know a lot about them. Robert and I worked with them for years.
Well, thank you very much. I sure appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, we'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump's back at the United Nations for more meetings today. He got laughs at the UN General Assembly yesterday, bragging about his accomplishments.
Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
UN Ambassador Nikki Haley tells Fox and Friends
they love that he's honest with them, and they've never seen anything like it. And so there's a respect there. I saw that the media was trying to make it something